Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Cosette's Gotta Talk About It. Today I am doing something a little special and I'm taking you guys along with me as I cook the Thanksgiving dinner for my family all by myself. It was definitely an ordeal. It took a lot of planning and I think I did pretty okay considering I'm not always the best at multitasking, but it was really exciting. My mom's birthday was on Thanksgiving, so she didn't want to cook. And I said, all right, well, we're eating Thanksgiving food on Thanksgiving, so I'll cook it. It was rather small. We did Cornish hens, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole. What else did we do? Oh, and stuffing. So it was all like the holy trifecta of not trifecta, the most ideal group of Thanksgiving foods. It was absolutely delicious, and here it is. I'll show you how I make it.
Alrighty, so the first step was to make the butter sauce, I guess, for the bread cubes. I used a stick of butter and then about a teaspoon each of herbs de Provence, sage, and thyme, and just kind of whisk that all together. You definitely want your butter to be nice and melted when you do this. Oh, I forgot to mention, I also put like a teaspoon of better than bouillon in there, and that's what made it taste like stovetop stuffing. And then I decided to go ahead and cut up my bread cubes. I used the Canyon Bakehouse, just like the regular white bread, because that's what the recipe I used suggested, and I really liked it. It held up really well, and it also had a really nice hint of sweetness to it, which was really nice with the savory flavors of the spices. And then I took the butter mixture and just put it all over. I think I should have done this in a bowl to get a nice even coat because I definitely did not get it as evenly coated as I would have liked, but it was still pretty good, so I can't complain too much. So then I stuck it in the, oven, that's what that's called, for the recipe called for like 20 minutes. I think I did it for longer, and I did it at 350. So then it hit about 3, and I chopped up my veggies. I did some celery, carrot, and onion for the stuffing. I chopped up my potatoes, got them in the water. My bread cubes were beautifully toasted, and I did a rough chop on some veggies for my Cornish hens to sit over. And now we have the dry rub for the Cornish hens, and I used about a teaspoon of salt. Again, I did another teaspoon of herbs de Provence, thyme, and sage. I would recommend not putting salt in the rub and just salting the hens directly so you know exactly how much salt is going on the hens, because mine were definitely undersalted, which is like not great. But I used 3 Cornish hens, one for each member of my family, and I pat them dry, and then I put the dry rub on the top. Definitely I would have salted them more, but overall the flavors were really good. And next time I kind of want to try doing like the butter under the skin, but I figured I should try and take it easy this time and not go overboard, considering I've never cooked a Cornish hen before in my life. And then I drizzled the top with some olive oil, and they were ready to go into the oven. I also stuck like the giblets and stuff just like on the pan, just to get those flavors in there. And there they are, all ready to go. So to make my stuffing, I first put some olive oil and butter. I did a mix of both in the pan, and I added the minced onions. Some of the pieces were really big, so I just kind of chopped it up with a spatula. And then once those were sweated down, I added carrot and celery. I did a little bit of chopped carrot. I also had some matchstick carrots, and I just decided to throw those in there. And I salted and peppered, because you gotta season along the way. And then I kept stirring it up until those were soft, but not fully cooked through, but definitely just soft. Now, these were the hens partway through. We ended up cooking them about 20 minutes more than the recipe called for. The temperature said they were cooked, and then we cut them open and they weren't. So that's a little embarrassing, but it turned out fine. So for my green bean casserole, I just did some, cream and mushroom soup. We used oat milk instead of almond milk because that's what I had. And then you want to go ahead and put your onions in there. I use gluten-free ones that I got from Aldi's. And yeah, you just throw it in there, and then halfway through you put more on the top because you don't want them to get burnt. So once my potatoes were cooked, I drained them and I added garlic and like half a stick of butter and just a smidge of sour cream to them and some thyme because I really like the garlic thyme combo. Once that melted and got warm, I added my potatoes back in and I used cream and chicken stock to get them, nice and soft. I didn't really measure because it really just does depend on how many potatoes you wind up doing and stuff like that. But I added a lot because I like mine really, really creamy. And now for the gravy, I used about a tablespoon of butter. No, that's not right. Like a couple tablespoons of butter. And then a tablespoon of flour. I definitely would have done more. I would probably double that. I tend to not follow recipes when I'm making gravy and I just kind of wing it. But once I made the roux and let the roux cook a little bit, I slowly added chicken broth. We then added the carrots and the onion that were underneath the hens, and we used those and pureed them into the gravy. We used an immersion blender, and I think that's a really great way to get some of the flavors from the chicken into the gravy. And we also drained some of the fat from the bottom of the pan to put into the gravy just to add to the flavor. And it was so good. It was such a good gravy.
Alrighty, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Just a couple little tips on the gravy before I go. If you're having issues with your gravy, I would suggest making a cornstarch slurry. You can look up how to do that, but pretty much it's just water and cornstarch and you mix it together until it kind of looks just like a cloudy liquid and you add it in and kind of let it cook and it'll start to thicken your gravy. I ended up having to do that and it turned out amazing. It actually gave it a little bit of like a creamy flavor, which was really interesting, but not bad at all. I forgot to talk about the stuffing. I didn't give the stuffing a lot of love, but once you cook down those vegetables and they're nice and soft, you're gonna add the bread cubes that you toasted, and then you're just gonna stir it all together until those flavors kind of come together a bit. Once it's all combined, you're gonna add 2 cups of chicken broth and cover it. You could use vegetable broth if you're looking to make it more vegetarian. Obviously, I wasn't. This was full on chicken flavored, so I used chicken broth and it was so good. You definitely want to make sure that you cook it right until the point that the bread cubes soak up all of that broth because I kind of overcooked mine a little bit and it got a little too mushy, but it was still really good. So just kind of watch it. I would do that a little bit last just because it was done way before everything else, and that's why I kind of overcooked it by accident because I was trying to keep it warm. But yeah, it was super easy. It turned out absolutely delicious. Everything was gluten-free except we didn't use gluten-free mushroom cream of soup because I'm not that gluten intolerant. There's only a little bit of gluten in that, but you can find cream of mushroom soup anywhere gluten-free. I'm pretty sure you can get some at Aldi's, but I've also seen it at Wegmans, and my Wegmans is really small, so I'm sure if you have a smaller grocery store, you'd probably still be able to find it in your gluten-free section. But yeah, that was me cooking Thanksgiving dinner. It was absolutely delicious. Definitely a really interesting learning experience because I've never cooked Thanksgiving dinner before. But I look forward to doing it again. Thank you guys for coming along with me, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.